This is Let's Build DeSo with Kenny J. Today, we're just going to simply use JavaScript to access the DeSo API and return the latest posts from a given user. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to use a React app, and I use Create React App to create it. So this might look familiar to some of you. We've got our little spinning React logo, but you'll see right here, I've inserted a little bit more data. Hi, I'm post number 1, number 2, number 3. And that is coming right here from this constant test data. Hi, I'm number 1, 2, 3. How are we doing this? I've created an asynchronous function called fetch posts, and I call it within the use effect. And all it's doing right now is it's setting we have a use state variable called data, and it's setting it equal to this test data. Then we look down here in the code, and we're taking that data, that state variable here, data, and it, as you can see, it is an array. So we're going to loop through that array, and we are just printing out the value associated with a key body for each item. Now, what we want to do is go to the DeSo API and get this information. But I like to do this first just as kind of a sanity check that things are working out the way we plan them to. So how do we do this? First of all, we are going to import Axios from Axios. If you do not have this installed, then you'll go ahead and need to run npm install Axios and install that library into your project. Once you have the Axios library installed, we can get to work on this. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to comment this out because we're not going to be using that data anymore. Next, I'm going to create a constant for the user name, and we'll go ahead and get my latest posts. And then we'll create a constant for our base URL. This is the node that we will be going to get the data. Now we're going to use desodev.com because it does not have cores enabled. And then we're going to get the rest of the URL, which we'll call the endpoint, and we will call this path. So the endpoint that we are going to be using is get posts for public key. Next, we're going to instantiate our Axios client. So you can see we're using that base URL and we're setting some headers. With this client, this Axios client, we're going to post information. When we post information, we're going to have data in a JSON format to post it. So that's what we'll do next. We'll call this post data. And these are the values that we are going to send to the API in order to tell it what we want. And as we take a look, we'll see we're not really specifying a whole lot of information. We're leaving this blank, this blank, this blank. We're just going to get the last 10 posts, media required, setting it equal to false. Really, the key is this username. So we set that up here. We're going to post that with this data. So next, we're going to make our call. And we'll create I keep on saying variable, these are constants, to catch the returning information. We'll just call it result. And because this is asynchronous, we will use the await keyword. And there's our client object we will call post. And we will send first the path. That is this endpoint there. And next, we will send it post data. And then we'll go ahead and console log out the result so we can take a look. As you can see, I got an error, and that is because I've been working too much in Python and I did not declare a variable. There we go. Let's try this. There we go. Okay, now let's go back Let's do inspect. And let's take a look right there. Our object was returned. We have config, data, headers, requests. We want data. And then under data, we have posts. That's what we want. So let's go ahead now. And before we use the set data to set it to this. Now we're going to use set data to set it to not result, and then data, and then posts. We'll hit save and we'll take a look. There we go. We can see the last 10 posts that the Kenny J account made. Now, just to make sure that I'm not pulling a fast one, let's go ahead and change this to Natter. We'll save it, go back, and now it's Natter's last 10 posts. Just so you can see, I'm going to do object, data, post, and then within post, we have body. So that's where that information is coming from. Let's see what else we have. We have diamond count. Let's see if we can do something fun with that. Let's go down here and we'll put a dash and let's access item diamond count. And maybe we'll put a couple asterisks around it for fun. Hit save, go back, and there we are. So what we do, we imported Axios library. We created the username because that's the person we're going to be searching for their post. We established the base URL and the endpoint. We instantiated an Axios object. We created our post data, the data that we're going to send over, the key being username. Then we used our Axios client to post that data to the endpoint. We got our result. Our result had data, and then we had posts, and this post was an array of objects, and we were able to access them there. I hope that might help some of you out there. This is Kenny J with Let's Build DeSo.